South Sudan rebels loyal to former Vice President Riek Machar are denying reports of a split in the ranks. This news came as two top rebel commanders announced Tuesday that they had split with Machar's forces. The two generals say they will now fight against both Machar's rebels and the South Sudan army. But a rebel spokesman says there is no split in the rebel movement, but rather a defection by what he calls two disgruntled generals who have been reshuffled out of the rebel command hierarchy. For the latest on the South Sudan peace talks situation, John Tanza, host and managing editor of VOA's South Sudan in Focus radio program, joins us on the phone from Addis Ababa. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Linord.
So, John, is it a split among the rebels or a defection by two commanders?
Well, I wouldn't call it a split because these two commanders were relieved of their duties 2 weeks ago. And when they were relieved of their duties, they decided now to form a splinter group. But when I was speaking to rebel authorities here, they're saying their colleagues are free to go wherever they want to go. They were, downplaying it. They said it's not anything major and it will have no impact on the current search for peace in the country.
Okay, well, where do things stand in terms of the peace and negotiations, actually?
Well, I will say the delegates who were meeting from yesterday until today emerged from their meeting this evening, and they came up with a list of laundry of disagreement. So
a list of laundry of disagreement, which include the demilitarization? Yes.
They disagreed on formation of a government during the transitional period. They disagreed on format for sharing power. They disagreed on type of leadership that they want. They disagreed on the system of governance that they will use. And the list is just endless. And
do they agree on anything at all?
Well, they have agreed to form a government of national unity. But the details is very sketchy. And neither side is willing to tell you how the government will look like.
And so the prospect of that happening is very, very slim.
Well, the final decision rests on the shoulders of rebel leader Riek Machar and President Salva Kiir. They are expected to meet on Friday and look at the recommendations of their delegates and make a final, recommendation that might end up into a peace agreement.
How do the people of South Sudan feel about this whole process? Have you been able to speak to some people?
Well, I've spoken to some independent delegates at the talks, and they are disappointed that these two leaders or these two delegates are all negotiating. Let me use their words. They are negotiating for their position in the government that will be formed if a peace agreement is signed. And so some delegates are saying these leaders are selfish. They're only thinking about themselves, not about the people who are suffering in South Sudan.
So a sentiment that it's very personal, but not about the country's interest.
Right. That's they're saying the leaders are not putting the interests of their people in front of them. Rather, they are putting their interests first.
Okay. Well, John, thank you so much, and we'll be keeping an eye on your report. VOA's John Tanza reporting from Addis Ababa.